Hi friends, it's your girl Tshego back again with another video. Thank you so much for taking that decision to actually view this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about personal development and particular 5 areas of personal development. So I just handfully selected these 5 areas in no particular order. It's education, it's spiritual, it's physical, it's social, and also it's emotional. Okay, so personal development covers activities that improve one's well-being. It provides one with a lens of awareness, identity, development of talents, potential to build human capital, and also facilitate employability. So at the core of it all is the realization of aspirations and dreams. So definitely so, if you had to identify yourself, or if you had to be selective in terms of these 5 areas, you would have actually thought about it quite deeper and actually have dreamt about it, hence the realization of aspirations and dreams. And you have to be intentional in actually setting up or actually seeking to deal deeper in actually wanting to develop yourself in these particular 5 areas. And in all of them, it doesn't come easy at times. There has to be some form of self-introspection and wanting to actually tap into these areas and develop yourself. Some people do not necessarily take all 5 of the areas, but maybe for some other people they would actually take into 3 areas. Like for some, it will be just the educational aspect, the physical and the social, or the spiritual, the physical and the emotional. You know what? And also, these 5 areas are not necessarily limited to the ones that I've actually picked up or selected, or the ones that I've been talking about. Other people also look at the mental aspect of things. So I'm just going to briefly going to each and every 5 of these areas. For an example, if your dream or one of your aspirations is to grow into the educational aspect of your development, you would have to do some self-introspection. If you already are a graduate or hold a qualification, you would actually set yourself in a situation. You would like to analyze the environment that you're in and see where you would want to actually grow or develop yourself in that area, because you find that in instances some people studied something or have an academic qualification that is not necessarily related to their job, but thankfully so they have some form of generating income, like a job, if not a business. So maybe perhaps your interest is to get into project management, and for that, when you actually scan the environment out there, they'll say that they want a project management certificate and experience. You can actually add that on maybe one of your qualifications. Maybe you've got a business management qualification, you just maybe enroll for a certificate or national diploma in that area. But also, I would urge friends to actually, when deciding to take such decisions, is to actually see if they resonate with yourself. Are you being authentic to yourself? Is it really what you want to do? Because another thing is that you will be actually splashing money, if not sponsored, into that particular qualification or certificate or whatever form you want to develop yourself. And I always say that if there are other ways to be skilled or to be schooled, rather perhaps think of developing yourself in that way, not necessarily having to pay for it. But hey, if it requires you to actually go and pay for it, save for it. Save for it. Please, please, please save for it. Okay? Now, let's move into the second one. The second one, we say that is the spiritual aspect of personal development. The spiritual aspect of personal development is quite very personal. Sometimes it also raises arguments amongst friends, amongst colleagues. Yeah. So it's also you also have to do some form of self introspection to say to yourself which area you would want to grow. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you want to grow spiritually, you're not spiritual. No, perhaps maybe you want to develop in a particular aspect of spirituality. Perhaps you feel like you are decentralized. I always say there was a time in my life I had felt decentralized from the center, and for me the center could not hold because there was nothing in actually holding it. So I had to find my way back into the center so that it could hold. And my center is my maker, my center is my spiritual provider, which is God. So I had decided then at that point in time I was going to go on a spiritual buffet, so to say. And then how I identify my spiritual buffet was to visit different churches. I was in seek of a home for my heart, and in seek of my spiritual development and fulfillment. So, cause I figured that time I was not really spiritually growing. So I decided that I was gonna go on a spiritual buffet until I found a home for myself where I was very, very happy. I grew spiritually and I'm still continuing to grow spiritually. And also the church also believe in so much of spending your personal time with God and also reading the Bible, studying the Bible, learning the Bible, and you know, studying the Bible, reading the Bible, and also being in touch with just growing that relationship between you and God, and also taking the lessons that would come from the sermon, and the preaching that come from the sermon. So I really appreciate that, and also trying to apply it practically in your life. You know what I mean? So for me, it was a very delicate and vulnerable point in my life in which I am so glad that I actually took that journey, and it really fulfilled me, as it's still continuing to fulfill me. And another aspect is the physical side of things. So for me, I equate physical with my well-being, physical well-being and health. So in this particular area, I had decided that, you know what, in order for me to develop my physical aspect of my life, the journey would be that I will start training myself to be healthy, making the decision of actually going more green, eating more green leaves, eating more healthy and less protein. Although I really need protein in my diet, but that was a very crucial step that I took. And on top of that, wait for it, it was the decision to actually decide to start running and being active. Although I really dreaded people who would actually run for the longest of time, because I felt like you're running marathons and race, it takes forever. Because I mean, like, it's only natural because of at school, I was at high school, I was a sprinter. You know, it was intense training. We did intense training. So you run 100 meters, you hurdles, 200 meter hurdles. You'll run 1 laps, 2 laps, 100 meter sprint. You know what I mean? So having to pace myself and having to time myself, having to work on my average speed was something that was going to be daunting. But yet again, I took up on the challenge and I decided that, you know what, I'm going to run. And I'm so thankful that I actually, listened to the inner me. And I was also influenced by a TV program that I was watching while I was at home during the holidays. And the host was Dr. Michael. He used to be a top billing presenter. He actually said that while you are busy sitting on the couch and maybe snacking on a bag of potato chips, why not go out there and do a 5 kilometers? And you know what? I felt so bad that the next morning I took that decision, and that 5 kilometers I ran it for about almost 1 hour 30 minutes. That is how hectic it was for me. But as time went by, I trained myself, I increased my pace. I also increased the number of activities that I would do in terms of running in a week. So now I'm so addicted to my schedule that I do run 3 to 4 times a week, and I'm very happy about that. My pace has increased. Now I can do 10 kilometers in about an hour, and it's something that I'm proud of, something I'm still working on. So for me, that's how I equated my physical personal development journey. So in terms of the emotional aspect, the emotional kind of aspect, I had to learn to be open because of I used to have this wall in front of me, don't wanting to let people in my life, creating a concrete wall, and also sometimes had a tendency of not showing emotion, and not because of I am not emotional or I lack emotion, I lack sympathy or whatever. Sorry, but I was preventing myself to actually be vulnerable, and somehow felt like people maybe would perceive me to be this crybaby and all of that. So I had to allow myself to be intelligently emotional. You know what I mean? And for me, that is still an area that I'm still exploring. And yeah, I think I've learned along the way in terms of actually being emotionally intelligent, or having to let people in, having to let people how I feel, to a point where if I can't say it to you in your face, my other, the best medium that I know how is to write. I will write to you in terms of how the situation makes me feel, or how you make me feel, and that's my form of communication. So I'm really growing that, and I'm really proud of myself how I actually took upon this particular area in my life. The other thing is the social aspect of things, where we need to understand, or I needed to understand at least, that no man is an island, and I need to be sociable. I need to socialize with other people, because that area of my life, I really struggle. I've always been a loner, although I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert, but an extrovert that has boundaries, an extrovert that is very conservative in certain areas, and who really scans, who's got an ID scanner to see if I should let this person in. Very sometimes somehow to some extent skeptical about who goes in and out of my life. So I guess also I'm still on a learning journey in terms of that. I mean, like, it doesn't really have to be that hectic. It can just be a call from a friend, saying that, hey, are you free, can we chill, and I could just go. But instead, when I get that call, I say, yeah, I'll be free that afternoon, or I'll be free on such a day. We can actually hook up, and then I end up feeling like, oh, you know what? I don't feel like it. Let's reschedule, and it's something that I have to stop it and learn it. So, friends, the intention of this video was not to be that long, but it was meant for me to actually share this information with you in terms of developing yourself, and also perhaps thinking about the areas that you felt like you haven't doing so much or so well into those areas, that you have to be intentional, and you ultimately, the decision starts with you and ends with you, and you don't have anybody to blame if you don't take those steps on developing yourself in these particular areas. So I really hope this area was briefly informative, and please tell me what are your thoughts in the comment box. Please like this video, please hit the notification bell to get similar videos and my other videos, and also please subscribe. Till next time, thanks a lot. God bless.